Welcome, everyone that's coming in. Please like and share the live. We're about to get started with this event. It's going to be amazing. We're going to talk about the election results and what this means in the Middle East and talk about many different topics. So please make sure you guys like, share the live, and we'll get everybody in here. Salam, salam, everybody. We'll wait about like 5 minutes or so, make sure everybody gets a chance to join, and we will get started. We'll bring up the guests. Salam, Rana. Salam, everyone. Hello, hello, Bella. Everyone, please like, share the live. Let's get this out to as many people as possible. We have two amazing guest speakers today, and we're going to be talking about the election results and speaking about the impact it has on the Middle East, specifically speaking on Palestine. So please share this out. We're going to get started in just a few minutes, and we're just going to wait on everybody to join us. Share it out in any discords that you may be. We want to get as many people in here as possible to join in on the conversation. And at the end, we will have a chance for anybody that wants to come up to ask any questions that they may have and continue the conversation from there. So welcome, welcome, everyone. We're just waiting on one of our guests to join us. If you are a mod here, we are not going to be muting or blocking any Zios, so we're gonna let them watch and listen. I know a lot of them are fans of Resistance, so we're going to let them um, have their fan moment. So, guys, if you're coming in, we are about to start this event. What's next? Analyzing election results, a discussion on the future impact in the Middle East. So, please make sure you guys are currently sharing the live, and we're going to go ahead and bring up the guests here. Everybody, please like, share the live. All right. Hello, hello, salam. Resistance is beautiful, and MJD.
Hey, hello, hello.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Give me one sec. Let me drop and come back because I
Yeah,
think.
okay.
1 second.
Yep, I got you. All right, everyone, welcome. This is your first TikTok live. Is that right?
That is correct. I usually don't even go on lives. I'm pretty incognito. But I had a couple days off, thankfully, after my travels. So, yes, it is my first live.
We are very honored and excited to have you with us. And then we got Resistance. Salam, salam, brother.
Can you hear me?
Resistance, salam, MJD.
What's up, Resistance? How are you, brother?
Pretty good. How's it going?
I admire you from afar, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I love the work that you do as well.
I am just doing my part, brother. That's it.
We have amazing, amazing guests here. So we'll go ahead and do some introductions and we'll get this started. So we have MJD. He's a medical humanitarian who has done multiple medical missions around the world with 16 medical missions spanning from South America, Africa, the Middle East, as well as 3 tours working as a rescue medic on a boat in the Mediterranean. He has a passion for humanity and many causes, and at this current moment is focused on the plight of the Palestinian cause, working with multiple organizations to help Palestinian children in emergent medical needs seeking treatment. We have Resistance is Beautiful. Resistance is Beautiful is an advocate for Palestinian liberation. His grandparents were kicked out of Palestine in 1948. They do not have a right to return, and neither does he. Growing up in America, he believes he can make an impact from inside the belly of the beast. Resistance believes this is the greatest global movement in history and that it is only getting started. He believes if we keep this momentum, then we will see the downfall of Israel. Welcome, welcome. Okay, we're going to get started. I'm going to ask you just a few questions. So the first one is we'll start with MJD. If you could briefly tell us how you became involved in this type of work and what influenced you.
So to start off, I'm Palestinian. I was born in the heart of the Midwest in Chicago. And I remember growing up in Chicago. I remember walking to school. I remember waiting for this girl that I had the biggest crush on, and we would walk together. And this was in first grade. And then I was done with first grade, and the summertime came about, and my family said, "We're going to go on vacation so you can meet your grandparents to Palestine." And it's like this almost happens with every child who was born in the US to take that first trip back home. And I absolutely fell in love with it. I fell in love with Palestine. I fell in love with the olive trees, and I fell in love with the land and the people. And I told my mom, I was 5 years old, I said, "I'm not going anywhere. I want to stay here and I want to grow up here." And she asked my grandparents, and my grandparents said, "Okay, we'll keep him here. We'll let him learn the language." Fast forward, I'm in second grade, still walking to school the same way I did in Chicago. And I was walking with my cousin one day, and two Israeli Jeeps came down. And my cousin said to me, "Stop, don't move." I have no idea. I'm like, "Why? What's going to happen?" He's like, "Don't move. They're going to stop us." They stopped us. They searched us. They checked us. It was raining that day, actually. We got to school soaking wet. And I just totally didn't understand it at that point. Why would they do this to some second graders? What just happened to me? I used to walk to school every day in America, not worrying with my crush that didn't know I had a crush on her. Now I had M16s pointed at me. So that's a little bit of my background to why, I care about the cause and why I do this. Short and sweet, I made a promise to a woman who lost 3 of her family members. She was Egyptian. They died of lack of healthcare. They died due to lack of finances. They died because they were in a developing country and the system was just broken. And she said to me, "أوعدني إنك راح تساعد الناس اللي مثلي. Promise me you'll help the people in my
Wow.
position." Yeah, and then she said, "أوعدني إنك راح تساعد الناس اللي خسروا كل شيء. Promise me you'll help those who have lost everything." So 16 medical missions later, ironically, I just got done dropping off 2. Thankfully, the children have gotten treatment here. They're going to be reunited with their families back in Egypt. So it's crazy that full circle. That promise was made back in 2009, almost 15 years ago. And then I picked up the call from this specific organization that said, "We need somebody to take these sick kids back to be reunited with their family after treatment." And, 15 years later, the promise is still being fulfilled. So that's just a brief intro of why I'm so passionate about this and how I combine the two.
That is amazing. Yes. I mean, I've known and watched you for some time now, just kind of seeing the work that you've done in the past. The recent medical mission that you've done is absolutely amazing. So thank you for that. Resistance, I'm going to ask you the same questions. If you could briefly tell us how you became involved in this type of work and what influenced you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me, Taz. MJD, it's so nice to share the panel with you. And thank you, chat, for being here. I can read what you guys are saying, but I can't type or respond. But it's nice to see all of you. For me, I'm Palestinian, like you mentioned in the intro. My grandparents were kicked out. Were not allowed to return. They were refugees. I went back to Palestine sometime in 2002. I saw it. I had a very similar experience to MJD. I loved everything about it. I mean, all of my memories, like the best memories of my life, are in Palestine or, with my uncles and my aunts, and it's incredible. But I think living in the U.S., I share something very similar to Norman Finkelstein, which is what he said, which is I did kind of give up on the Palestinian cause. Obviously, I hate saying that out loud, but it's the truth. I guess so much got taken away from us, and we just kind of, I guess, accepted our new reality. I knew what my people were going through, but I thought, Halas, like, that's it. Israel is here to stay. They are making relations with every Arab country, right? Like, it just felt so hopeless. So I wasn't really very much involved. I'd go to some fundraisers, etc. But then one day, I was here on my computer. I was doing some work, and I just see all this stuff about these paragliders and the H group. I'm like, H group? I haven't heard about them in a long time. What the heck? What? Gaza? Paragliders? Music festival? What is going on? Like, I was so, when you're so shocked, you're trying to make sense of something. It's like, is it a misunderstanding? Is this part of some sort of show? And I'm just reading one bit after another, after another, after another. And I was like, oh my God, my people are alive. And they're not accepting the reality that I thought was final. I thought, that's it, it's over, right? Like, took the majority of the land, we don't have much power, and they're making relations with everybody. But when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, there's some hope. And I kept looking into it, and I was so unbelievably proud of the resistance of my people. And in this past year, I have just fallen in love with everything Palestinian. Everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hit the streets. I'm gonna take a flag. I'm gonna hit the streets, and I'm just like Moses, in the Quran, where it's like he does a little bit of work. He hits the water with his
cane.
Yeah, he hits the water with his cane, and the water splits. Right, God does all the heavy lifting. I was like, you know what? Maybe God will make. If I just take a flag and I hit the streets, maybe that'll make a difference. I don't know. So I would make a prayer. I'd be like, God, I have a flag here standing in Arizona. If you want one person to see this, great. If you want 1 million people to see it, great. I accept whatever you give me, but I am giving myself fully to you and to Palestine. Do with me whatever you want. And I'd hit the streets over and over and over and over again. And the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history, subhanallah. I mean, your videos have reached the Middle East, worldwide. Everybody knows of your videos. The mom chats, the mom, WhatsApp groups, the aunties, everybody knows of these videos. So, that's absolutely amazing resistance. So thank you for that. So let's go ahead and dive into like the topic of today. So Trump, as we all know, has won the presidential election. What does that look like for Palestine specifically with the current genocide happening in Gaza? Do you feel like Trump will benefit Israel? And what do you think about his current statements to Bibi about ending the war before he becomes president? So we'll let Resistance if you want to answer first, and then we'll go to, MJD whenever you want to after he's done.
So Trump is the type of person where we all know he's a wild card. He'll say something crazy. He just says it kind of for shock value, Even if he hasn't met with any advisors, he'll just say something, just like, yeah, I said it, and then he'll meet with the advisors and they give him a reality check. Same thing here. He's gonna tell you, I want no war. I love Iran. He'll just tell you whatever. But then, when he meets with the people in charge behind the scenes, he's going to do something vastly different. He'll tell you that he doesn't want war. He'll tell you that, we need to keep our money here in America. But once he meets with those advisors behind the scenes, they'll tell him a large part of how we make our money is the fact that we occupy the Middle East. And then he'll be like, oh, crap. And he'll take a few steps back, and then he'll go and make Jerusalem the capital of Israel. He'll then go and take more land and give them the green light to take more land from the West Bank. This is how it is. Trump will say something for shock value to appease whoever it is that's in front of him. And then when he meets with his advisors and they tell him the reality of the United States, which is that it is imperialistic, He'll say, we need to make sure that Israel is 100% protected. They're our ally. We need to make sure Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons and all that other bullshit. So that's my answer of how this next 4 years is going to go.
Okay. What do you think, MJD?
Yeah, as Resistance said, it's kind of hard because he's kind of like the drunk uncle who shoots from the hip at a bar. You know, he'll say the most wild things. He said the most wild things that he just hasn't come through with, or he'll come through with. But it really is like you're at a crap table, and you just kind of spin and see which way it goes. Do I think for his ego, he wants to be the person? I think all he cares about is ego. Before I go back, like he really doesn't care about the Palestinian people, Christian, Muslim, atheist, whatever it is. I think his ego is what drives him to say, I'm going to be the one that ends this. I'm going to do it because the Dems couldn't do it. I'm going to do it because nobody else can do it. Because he's like, I'm going to end the war in Ukraine in a day. You know, and he'll say these crazy things like, and he was asked about this. He's like, how are you going to do it? And he'll respond in the most meaningless way. He's like, I told Vladimir, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. And it's just like, he really does sound like your drunk uncle, right? Like you can't take him seriously. On the other end, it's like he's been promising Bibi all these things. And you also just don't know, right? Like, is he going to do it? Is he not going to do it? Because I remember listening to something of his. I don't know what the heck this means. This thing just like I've never.
Sorry,
This is your first time here?
thank you, Naka.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's his first time here.
Yeah, it's first time here. Okay,
Thank
so
you,
let me
Naka.
explain.
What
This
does
is
that
kind
mean?
of like this is kind of like MySpace.
Okay.
And you see, and people drop pennies. Like he just dropped.
Okay.
So yeah, so he just dropped about like 100 pennies. That was worth, or 5,000 pennies. That's worth like $2.
Okay.
You know, you can go and you can buy yourself like a bag of chips or something.
It's like
I'll donate any pennies.
it's like 20. Yes.
So here's the other thing, right? This is ridiculous. So I feel like somebody's messing with me right now. So the other thing, and this is really important, is I remember listening to a clip of his, and he's like, yeah, I met the head of the PA, and I felt like I was talking to my uncle. And then he's like, and I met with Bibi, and I looked at him and I said, you don't want a two-state solution, do you? Like, he'll say things like that are super, I hate to say this, genuine, because he's like, I read the man wasn't clear, and I told him why I felt like he was lying. So he'll say these things, but I think ultimately I agree with what Resistance has to say. Whether you're 45, 46, 47, or 50, right now, the people that call the shots are not the presidents. It's big war, it's big pharma, and ultimately they're the ones that make the last decisions because they're the ones that put money in senators and congressmen's pockets. And ultimately you can only do so much as a president, really, unless you want to sign off on everything left and right. But that's not going to be the case for him. And there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be rubbing it in our face directly or indirectly. I think specifically Democrats. And Taz, I don't want to, you may get to this question later because it's been
No, we can dive into it. I think this is this was a question, but I think it's, it was coming up right away anyway. So
I'll conclude with this. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be waiting to just throw anything in our face. Even, again, look, I didn't vote. But even if Trump walks 2 steps to the left where he was supposed to walk 1 step to the right, they're going to be like, see, we told you, you pro-Palestinian protesters, you Arabs, you Muslims, see what he did? And it's like, yo, he crushed her in the polls. Like, Arabs and Muslims constitute 1% of this country, if that. That's 3 million. And let's just say 50% of them vote, right? Because we're saying half of this country votes to begin with. So now you're talking about 1.5 million. Well, he won by 5 million plus votes. So even if you're trying to blame us, you can't really blame us. And at the end of the day, you can't blame us for saying no the same way they said no, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times to a ceasefire. You cannot blame us for using their same two-letter words to say no to them when they've said no to us on wanting to live, on wanting to survive, on not wanting to be burned alive, on not wanting our hospitals destroyed and our doctors and nurses kidnapped. You cannot blame us for saying no to that when they didn't say, when they said no to us wanting to live.
Yeah.
I think that is such a great point. And that's something we were going to ask because we have been seeing that, just in the past 12 hours, let's say, ever since, last night when it started, we've been seeing that on the news. I think CNN, they had somebody that said that this is the result of those that voted Jill Stein, or this is the result of everybody that has, went in that direction. And, we've seen it I've seen videos of it. I've seen different, it's coming out. So Resistance, did you want to jump on that as well?
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of messages, especially on Instagram. Even from followers. Some are very very harsh. Some are happy. Some are in the middle. Some are confused. And I try to keep up with as many messages as I can, and I kind of explain the same thing. America earned this. This is your reward for unaliving children. We have to say unaliving here on MySpace MJD because it'll shut down the live. We can't say anything that'll hurt the feelings of the application.
Okay.
This is America's reward. This is America in all of its glory. This is America. You drop booms on children, refugee camps, hospitals. This is your reward. They say, oh, well, what about the immigrants? What about if somebody wants to be half man, half woman? To hell with you. When someone has booms dropping on them, they don't have time to think, am I a man or am I a woman? Is the tax rate 36% or 39%? Get the fuck out of here. Nobody gives two shits. But they want us to feel like, oh, you know what? We feel so guilty. No, I don't feel guilty. This is what you earned. America unalived 1.5 million Iraqis. Who was punished for that? When Americans are asked about the 1.5 million that were unalived, you know what Americans always say? We should have never went to Iraq. We lost so many soldiers. Never once. I've lived in America my whole life. Not one time. Not once did a single person that I spoke with or saw speak about the crimes in Iraq even mentioned one Iraqi life. They always say, we lost too many soldiers. They lost 4,000. What about the 1.5 million Iraqis? What about the Afghanis that they unalived? What about all the orphans that they've created? How about now in Palestine? Look at a map of Gaza. They'll show you how many tons of booms were dropped by a red dot. The entire fucking thing is blood red. All of Gaza, all of it. This is America, and you have a problem because you have Trump? I hope Trump stays with you forever. You've earned him. You've earned him. Put him in your fucking bed. This is the bed you made. You earned him. You murder fucking children day and night, and then you go, oh, what? This is you. This is who you are. You're looking in the mirror. We read all these stories about the prophets, and we go to Friday prayer, or we go to the church, and we read about corruption and how the prophets were sent to speak against these corrupt people. Well, you're living in the time now. This is it. You're seeing it now. You see it in front of your own eyes. Wallahi, the devil himself looks at these crimes and he says, oh, I didn't think of that. I have not seen the devil commit as many crimes as Israel in my life. Or America, for that matter. They cannot be like, oh, the devil made me do it. No, you chose to do that. America chooses to be imperialistic. America chooses to do that. Children in Gaza, I don't know if you guys know, they take parts of the booms that were dropped on them and they show them to you. And it says, made in the USA. And then what's supposed to happen? I'm supposed to come out and be like, oh my God, I'm so proud to be an American. Oh, I fucking love Lady Gaga. This is what I'm supposed to do after a child in Gaza shows me the school is gone, the refugee camp is gone, children have no heads, made in USA. And I'm supposed to say what? That's how I genuinely feel inside.
I think a lot of resistance is frustration. I believe Martin Luther King said along the lines of, "We remember the silence of our friends more than the harshness of our enemies." And it's ironic that the the vocalness of our friends has turned almost against us. Um, if you read comments, if you see all the responses, the one thing I've been hearing over and over again is Trump is going to be so much worse. I'm like, how much worse can it get? I keep telling people, it's like I've been getting kicked in the teeth, in the head, in the mouth, in the stomach, in the groin, and they're actively kicking me. And somebody's saying to me, hey, over there, that guy that's coming is going to kick you harder. So keep taking our kicks and vote for us because by the time he comes, you're going to be gone. And then you've poured gasoline on my body and you want to burn me and you want to supply 500 plus shipments of weapons over the last year alone to that entity that's used it to unalive unestimated over 100,000 people, and so many medical journals will say that, including the Lancet. But yet, you want me to still say, no, you know what? Keep kicking me in the teeth, keep kicking me in the mouth. Let me support you because I'm so worried about this other guy. This is what I hear time and time again. Oh, you don't even know. He's going to do so much worse. I'm like, wow, what is there left? I mean, what is he going to do? Put a Trump hotel and enslave the Gazans? That might be a better situation at that moment. Maybe they'll have work and some food. I'm being very sarcastic here, but how much worse can it get? I mean, the people are starving. Journalists are being unalived left and right. I mean, really, how much worse can it get? And I hear this liberal talking point so much. It's like, you have no idea. You have no idea. You have no idea. Look, man, just tell me, just be honest with me. Tell me, look, you care about certain rights that I also care about, but my cause is just the lowest on your agenda. It was cool when it was popular, when everybody was sharing it, you got vocal, but at this point, it's the lowest on your agenda. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just at this point, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Let me have my own choice. It's ironic that the most accepting people have all of a sudden become so not accepted. I'll never forget this. Look, I was working in the smallest town. I was doing a 1-week contract where I was the darkest person in this town. And out of nowhere, I get a freaking flat tire outside of a dude's house with 4 Trump flags. And I'm like, oh shit, here we go. This dude comes out, you need any help? Sat with me, changed my tire. He's like, you look a little tired. Do you want to have some dinner with us? I'm like, this is the point where I get kidnapped potentially. And that wasn't the case. They fed me. It was around the 016 times. And then it was post 016. It was March of 2020. And I asked him, I'm like, what was the beef with Hillary and Trump? What made you guys vote for Trump? He was like, we were over the establishment. He's like, they don't care about us here in rural America. He's like, they really don't care about us. He's like, all they want to do is pretend that they care about us. He's like, and they're still dropping bombs in the Middle East. He was actually very honest when he's like, I didn't support the Bushes. I didn't support any of that. I don't want war. I don't want to kill other people. I'm a church-going person. He's like, I didn't want this. And you know, the ironic thing is, I was with my brother in Berkeley the following week. And I was just trying to park. It took us forever to park our car. And we see this woman in her car with every bumper sticker that you can imagine. Anti-Islamophobia, LGBTQ, Black Lives Matter, every single thing. And she had enough space for both of our cars. And I said, ma'am, do you mind just driving just a little bit so I can fit my car? She's like, no, and just flicks me off and drives away. I swear that moment could never be more true now. Where it was just face value. I'm going to put it out there, but when you really need me,
exactly.
And it was just like, I couldn't think of it. And it just like hit me now as Resistance was talking. I'm like, yeah, that is how that felt like. That really is all these bumper stickers, but it's like, hey, I really need you. Just at least hear me out. Hear my points. No, F you.
Uh-huh. It's like this. It's like, oh, you're with the Palestinian people, yeah? Okay. You're really, really with us, yeah? Okay. I want to tell the person that's unaliving us to stop, and I'm going to vote against them. Is that okay? And they say, "Whoa, wait a minute."
Yeah.
Right? I'm with you. Like you said, face value. I'm with you. That's why they say when you cut the grass, the snakes begin to show. When you cut the grass, the snakes begin to show. Yeah, it's a lot of it. It just, yeah. What did they say?
It's funny. One of my friends is a comedian who did not vote. He is of Middle Eastern descent, and he chose to text five of his colleagues that voted for Trump.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, I voted for Kamala." And his colleagues, friends, whoever they are, they're like, "All right, hey man." And this was pre-results. They're like, "All right, whatever." They kind of like, it wasn't a big, they like brushed it off. Oh, Trump's gonna win. And then he did the opposite. He texted five of his other friends that were going for Harris, and he's like, "I voted for Trump." He was getting F-bombs from those people. They were like, "I can't believe you would do this. I'm gonna not be your friend." And it was like, he sent me screenshots of both the messages, and he was like, "Oh my God." He's like, one group didn't really care. They just kind of let me do my thing. The other group, I had a friend that I've known for almost, and I get it. Like, I get it. These are values. I've lost close people in my life that genocide was not the red line for them. I get it to some people. But you hear it time and time again, that you guys are to blame for Harris losing the election. You Palestinians are to blame for this.
I want it. What's what I want to hear. I love it. I want every single person to mention Palestine and Palestine is the reason. That's what I want personally. Yes, I want it, and I tell them, I say, yes, we are the reason.
Let it be a lesson. Let it be a lesson. Let it be a lesson to both parties. This is a lesson to both parties. Like, if we assemble and we tell you to hear us and you choose to say, "I'm speaking," now you're unemployed. Good luck.
100%. And by the way, take a look in the comments. Zakit, is that you? Zakit is a. If you guys want, you can follow him. He's actually in Arizona, and he is the one that's really bringing together the people in the community to vote for Jill Stein and for the Green Party and whatnot. And read what he says. He says, "Yes, give us the credit. Remember our power. Blame us." Exactly. And I completely share that sentiment. Yes, blame us. Give us the credit. We are the reason. We tarnished everything about Israel that they tried so hard to protect. Look at the American media today. Okay, today on November 6th, Israel unalived another 100 today. Yesterday, Israel unalived another 100. On November 4th, Israel unalived another 100. It's not on CNN. It's not on Fox. It's not on NBC. It's not on MSNBC. It's nowhere. You can only find it if you try to get around the Zionist media that owns America, owns it like it's its bitch. America is Israel's bitch. That's what it is. It's a little bitch to Israel and Zionism. It doesn't have the power to say anything without the direct permission from its master. And so what we have to do, we have to sneak around. We have to put hashtag makeup, hashtag fun in the sun, hashtag this and that to sneak our footage out for the world to see it as they just fucking try to just silence us completely. This is the reality of what's happening.
But it's changed. I mean, it's changed worldwide. It's changed. I mean, they can only, as you said, they've built up this kind of idea of a utopia, right? They were known as this state that was the only democracy in the Middle East. They were known as, we have the medicine and the technology and the research and come here and the universities and this, and it's all gone. Like you don't have to travel far. I mean, you can just every corner. I've traveled all over this country. I can't tell you every corner's got a free Palestinian flag. You go to Europe, even more. You go to Africa. You go to the Middle East. You go to almost every sect of Asia. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, and it's crazy because like pre-October 7th of last year, like people didn't really know now the people that didn't know really know. Now it's like, oh, you're Palestinian? Oh my God, I have so many questions.
Yes,
Like
yes.
it's
That's credit. That's credit to all of us
yeah,
in trying to defeat this, man. To call it a wall of it's trying to block the truth as much as possible, you know. And credit to all of us because we just kept posting and trying to get around.
yeah.
We kept
Yeah, I mean
building tunnels.
it's hard. It's hard to play that social media game, man. It's really tough because as you said, right, we have to put fun in the sun and do all this. I have
Yep.
to share pictures of my dogs and you know, it's just how it is. It's just I will never forget. I had this post written and I just wanted to write it and just put it out. And one of my friends called me at the time. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I was midway writing it. He's like, "No." He's like, "Put your face in a video and talk." He's like, "We just live in a day and age where you have to navigate around it, and that's how you have to do it." And look, man, we've succeeded. They might own the platforms,
Yeah.
they might own the playgrounds,
Yeah.
but we've learned how to play this game
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and we're absolutely winning this game. You know, and every single TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, Twitter, all of it. You know, and no matter what they do, no matter what they try to suppress, it doesn't work. It's not working anymore. Especially with this next generation, I have to say, Gen Z's really stepped up more than anything. So shout out to any Gen Zers in the audience.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with that. I think
Well,
we've circumvented so much to, and we
mhm.
continue to do that. Yeah.
No, there's definitely a shift. I think we can all agree in how many people are now see Palestine. Like you said, they're speaking about it more in any way, shape, or form. They're still speaking about it. So I wanted to ask you guys the other question that I had now. For the remainder of the Biden administration in office, what does the next 2 months look like for the Palestinians and also in the Middle East region as a whole? So, for the next 2 months, what do you feel like will happen specifically in Gaza, right, during the this current genocide and in that region? So we're including like Iran. We've heard them speaking about retaliation, and also with Lebanon for the remainder of the Biden administration.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to go first,
Yeah,
MJD?
please. Yeah, please.
You want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay. 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 So, Taz, on your live, are we allowed to say the H word?
Yeah, it's free for all. Yalla.
Okay, excellent. Great. So Hamas in Gaza is still doing a lot of work, right, against the IOF, and they are consistently releasing videos. So the IOF are getting their asses handed to them in Gaza. For those of you who might not be aware, in the last 2 weeks, Hamas has released 10 videos at least in the last 2 weeks of them unaliving IOF, booming Merkava tanks, setting up booby traps. They're very much alive and well. And glory to the resistance. If you guys saw today, Hezbollah in Lebanon really hit Israel hard, with over 10 different missiles landing in Israel. And they released a statement that pretty much these Israeli citizens will not be able to return to the north. So when you talk about the next 2 months, like, this is still ongoing from the resistance. Iran looks like it still wants to retaliate against Israel. And so what I see happening is I see Israel in these 2 months, still A, struggle with their image worldwide, B, struggle with internal conflicts, them turning on each other because Gallant was terminated and fired by Netanyahu. C, I see the resistance not stopping whatsoever, and this is the perfect place for Israel to be. It could not be better, honestly, in my opinion. This is.
Do you feel like there will be continuous funding or more funding from the administration to
Mhm.
the Israeli
Yeah,
forces?
it'll be the same and more. Like Biden said back in the 80s, they cannot lose Israel. They cannot. they don't care what anyone thinks. Like America just can't lose Israel. Israel is their military base in the Middle East to keep everyone fractured, so they don't unite. That's why it's right in the middle, subhanAllah, and it keeps everyone afraid and on edge. And when you normalize with Israel, you bend the knee to them. You bend the knee and you say, we will not unite with, there's no brotherhood, there's no sisterhood. We won't unite with one another. We will submit to Israel. Having Israel there is that. It's a military base, but it's also an ideology that, yes, I bend the knee to my master. That's what Israel is. So if Israel isn't there, then America is not there. And America can't have that. So America will absolutely be sending more money and more weapons in the next 2 months to Israel, and they absolutely won't stop.
Okay. MJD, do you want to kind of respond to that as well?
Yeah, I think on both ends, I think resistance is right in terms of what America will continue to do. But unfortunately, I actually see it becoming worse for people in Gaza, because I think we're going to start to see a little bit more in terms of, it's the same stuff. You can kind of tell when they want to lighten up a little bit, and then you can kind of tell when they're like, all right, we're just going to drop a bomb on 200 people today. I think you're going to see a lot of that because one administration is leaving and another one is coming that's promised to give them even more weapons and more things. Or, if Trump stays true to self, the Israeli cabinet might be thinking we need to take this before he comes into office because he may start to spew out some dumb stuff, and that's not going to be pro what we want to do. It's really hard to tell. I mean, at this point, you're talking about like this is geopolitics, but corrupt geopolitics, and ultimately, yeah. When as Resistance said, when you have quite a few nations that are already in the Middle East that have sold out and have normalized and haven't really echoed much, what else can you expect? It's the same thing that happened, I think, was it in the 80s or 70s when an Israeli citizen walked into Masjid al-Aqsa and just killed a bunch of people. And the state of Israel was terrified. They were like, oh my God, we are about to get retaliation from all the Arab and Muslim nations. And nothing happened the next day. And then one of their heads of state said, this is where we go in. Like, they're never going to do it. And it's, I see a lot more of the same. Like, the most documented genocide. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. One of the patients that I had to take back to the Middle East after her treatment said to me, my father was a martyr. He was unalived while he was holding me.
Oh my gosh. And how old was she?
12. 12. And I don't know if I was more shook at the statement or at the calmness of how she said it. That, I think, scared me. And I don't mean scared like fright, but of her future, of her mental being. That worried me more than the actual statement within itself, and how calmly she was just telling people, my father was a martyr. And to think of how many thousands of kids have those stories. So I don't know. I mean, I really can't answer that. The next 2 months, Resistance, I'll reach out to you in January and we'll see if our predictions are true, but I don't think it's going to change. It's been a year and a month of, genocide. And I think that next 2 months aren't going to bring any different, not under this administration.
Yep.
And honestly, like, I have to go back, and people keep saying, well, he moved the embassy to Jerusalem. And I'm like, yeah, but if we're really wiping out a whole city and killing or unaliving 100,000 people or moving a concrete building, well, it's symbolic. I'm like, again, something is happening. See, he's going to do all this. This is what's going to happen. Well, it's currently happening under this administration. Like, you can tell me he's going to do a million things. He's going to fly with a magic carpet. Currently, this is what's happening under this administration. And I don't know why some of the most intelligent people I know can't understand this very basic thought. I just don't understand it. So I don't. I
We are
see.
not taking into account our honor and our dignity. That's what the issue is. Like, so for example, if I knew that there was an army coming for my mother and my sister, and it was just me alone to defend my mother and my sister, I will die trying.
Yeah.
Because I have dignity. Yeah. They are my honor. Yeah. And I will die protecting them. But even if I know this army is coming and that's going to happen,
yeah,
I will do it with honor, right? Like, but they don't understand this concept. They'll be like, no, go to the army and kiss their feet.
But it's also theatrics, brother. It's also theatrics.
It's not in us. It's not in us.
It's also theatrics. I think we're seeing a lot of it now. It's like, oh yeah, we'll do this, we'll do that. And I go back to my friend who's a comedian. I'll never forget a segment that he posted. He's like, yeah, there was a woman that had every single sign on her lawn. You know, all of them. Rainbow flag, stop Islamophobia, stop Asian hate, Black Lives Matter. He's like, I'm going to buy the house next to her house, demolish it, and build low-income housing. Let's see how much she likes that. You know, and it's just that. It's theatrics. We're going to show you, we support you up until... And Malcolm X warned about this, man. Yeah. Malcolm X warned about this more than anything. You know, and yeah, it's much of the same. It's much of the same. And unfortunately, we're going to hear it. We're going to hear it for the next 4 years. It's because of you. People who didn't vote. Yeah. People who voted third party. People who didn't vote for it. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, continue. I was going to actually jump on what you were going to say when you're done. So
yeah, and people are going to say this left and right. And as Resistance said, you know, I've changed my shift. I'm like, yeah, now I'm going to own it and say, yeah, you're right. You're right. It is because of us. Yeah, we did this. So next time the Democrats want to have a genocide and play with our lives and not listen to their constituents, not listen to their voters, not give them a microphone at the DNC and give every single other person that, then let it be known that now our quote-unquote single issue has become just as big as every single other single issue that they care about. Yep. You're welcome.
You're welcome. Exactly. I love it. That's the spirit.
Good. No, that's a very different take on this resistance, and I think a lot of people might follow in that direction. So you were just talking about third party. So why was there such a large push for third party voting in this presidential election within the Arab American community?
Can I answer this just partly? So, if a third party, and I don't know if you guys know this or not, but if a third party reaches up to 5% of the votes, they are entitled to federal and state funding. And that freaked out the Democrats more than anything, because it's like now they've gotten 5%. And not only that, it can be the majority. It can be like, let's say they had 10 votes in California, 5 votes in Illinois, 6 votes here. It's a combined 5%. It's not 5% in a state. If they actually have a combined 5% of the votes, they're entitled to funding. And when they're entitled to funding, they can campaign more, they can do more, they can kind of get their word out there. And Taz, just to answer you to why there was a big push, I think there was a head of a country that said this. I'm not going to say what country and I'm not going to say what interview, but he was asked, does democracy work in the United States? And he said, democracy used to work, but it no longer does, because one party says, if you elect me, I will give you $1,000 per household. So then the other party says, but wait, if you elect me, I'll give you $2,000 per household. There's no middle ground, and you end up flipping. And this is why it's, oh, do we cater to the black vote? Well, let's say some things that target the African American community, like Harris, I'm going to give $20,000 to black-owned businesses to start up, right? That's how you get the black vote. And now it's like, what can we do on the Republican side to pander that? And that's why it doesn't work. That's why the two-party system doesn't work anymore. That's why you need more than that. That's why if you look at most European nations that have a multi-party system, not one has total control, and another one can actually make an impact. See France, for example. They increased the retirement age. What happened? It was reversed. Why? Because of a multi-party system. Because people threatened the majority. Because there are other parties that can take over. That's why there was a big push for the Green Party. And not only that, people are sick of the corporate Democrats, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bidens. It's the same shit over and over. I feel like it's copy paste, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think people got so sick of also corporate Republicans that they voted for a freaking reality star. And that was just it at this point. And now they've gone third party, and it seems like that pisses off more Democrats than Republicans. You can tell a Republican, I voted third party. They'll be like, all right, whatever. You put out a Democrat, you voted third party. They want to shoot you.
Yeah.
Did you want to also chime in resistance on that?
I agree with a lot of that. For someone like myself, when I originally voted, I registered as a Republican to vote for Ron Paul. If you guys know who he is,
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anti-war, anti-imperialism, right? He's like, and they're like, oh, you're not even a real Republican. He's like, no, I'm the only real conservative. I'm the only real Republican. We shouldn't be going into all these other countries. And I was young at the time, like, I don't know, 18, 19, something. I was like, man, this guy's my hero. I need to vote for him. And I would go out there and put up signs and stuff, and then I kind of fell into that illusion of this fake democracy. And I thought that, yes, I had Biden and Trump, and I was like, you know what, Biden is going to be better overall, long-term strategy, that kind of feeling, right? I'm going to vote for him, thinking this will be a little bit better for us overall. When I saw that they are both, in fact, really identical, and I started to see what happened to my people, I realized, like, I don't want to partake in this anymore. We definitely do need like 5-6 parties here. And I felt like this was it was a protest vote. It was a way to open the pathway to the Green Party. I hope the momentum stays where we can keep pushing it and open this door and really step through it and create a legitimate, strong third party. But there's still a long ways to go, because you need at least 5% on the national level for them to get federal funding. So we're still
Yeah, it's a long way. I think she got 0.5, if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
0.5 to like 1, like 0.5 to 0.9, something like that.
600,000 votes, I think, or something along those lines. I mean,
Yeah.
So it's gonna definitely take some time, but the Democrats and the Republicans are identical.
yeah, absolutely not. I agree with resistance on that. I don't. I think worst case scenario, one party says, I don't like your people. The other one says, I like your people. Give me a hug with a knife in their hand to stab you in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's
Yep.
like,
Yes, exactly. The other one in the stomach. One will get you in the stomach, and the other one in the back.
we've all seen that meme of two fighter jets, but one with the LGBTQ
Oh yeah, yes,
logo on it.
yes.
Like
Mm-hmm.
nothing sums it up more than that at this point. Nothing. So
So,
yeah.
my next question is, and this is my last question, so that way we'll open up for a quick Q&A, but what can we do next? What actions can the pro-Palestinian community take in the next 4 years of this presidency? And I know, MJDU are very hands-on with like a lot of NGOs. What I'm gonna have you go, and then we'll go with resistance.
So I'm gonna tell you guys a quick story. When I first started working on this rescue squad, it was a helicopter ambulance trauma. When I first walked in, everybody was like ex-military, and it was during Ramadan, and nobody just understood. I was the first Muslim guy, I was the first brown guy on the squad, and it was kind of like a firehouse. We all eat together, we all join in, and I'm like, hey, I can't eat with you, and they're like, why not? Why not? Why can't you eat with us? It was just crazy. And I remember this guy approached me. Let's just call him Jimmy. And Jimmy said to me, what's with y'all, man? Why y'all always fighting Israel? And I said, let me educate you. Let me talk to you. So I sat there and we started talking. I showed him ifamericans.org. We talked numbers. showed him some videos, told him some personal stories. And that was exposure. We've all been doing that. And then the next shift, we talked about it a little bit. And then the following shift, we were always on for 24 hours. We talked about it a little bit. And we talked about it a little bit more. And then it became consistency. In order to change a group, in order to change a public mindset, you have to have both exposure and consistency. And I'll conclude with this. About 4 months in, after we started working together, keep in mind this guy is like one of my best friends now. 4 months in, though, I get a call from the chief. I'm at home. He's like, hey, what did you do to Jimmy? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, take a listen. And apparently Jimmy was on the phone or talking to somebody and just screaming pro-Palestine stuff. You don't know what they did. We're funding the wrong. He's like, dude, he's defending. My chief was like, he's defending Palestine. He's yelling and making everybody. And that was what happened. It was exposure, and it has to be consistent. And I think that's what we need to do. We've had and we've given exposure. Now we just have to be consistent. So I'll conclude with that.
Mm-hmm. Incredible. I would say that everything we've done has been incredibly effective. Mm-hmm. We have gotten nearly every human rights organization in the world to condemn Israel, to say that what's happening is a G-side or an H-cost, to come out and condemn the crimes of the IOF. We have gotten over 110 countries to say it's time for a Palestinian state. We have gotten nearly, I would say, the majority of the world to actually see some of these crimes, whether it was through protests or images that we've shared online. I feel like we've made Israel feel the pressure through the BDS movement. Thanks, Doc. You see the little hat? You like that, MJD?
I don't know what that means.
It
It's
means
just like appreciation, like gifts,
Okay.
showing love to like the people that are speaking or on the
Nice.
panel.
Nice. Keep giving them hats, y'all.
But yeah, and it's working. What we're doing is working. We just got to keep doing it. So to the over 100 people in here, 130. This is what we need to do. Just keep going. Share what's happening online. Share on social media. If you don't have any companies that you're boycotting, it's time to pick a company. Either 3, 5, 7 companies. And Israel is going to fall. It's just a matter of time. So by exposing all of these crimes, they are in a state of panic constantly. Right? One day they're having to defend themselves from the armed resistance, and then the next day they're having to explain why they committed such and such crime. And then the next day they have to deal with the UN wanting to kick them out. And then the next day they have to deal with the ICJ arrest warrants. And then the next day Amnesty International says something. And it doesn't stop. And that's what you want. You pretty much, while Israel is falling, kick them in the fucking mouth.